It's Senior Bowl week. Are there any future Houston Texans working out this week? And who do the Texans have their eyes on? Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans and let's talk some Senior Bowl from Mobile, Alabama. It is the premier college all-star game of the offseason. Seniors, and this year they added juniors, get together. They split them up into two teams. They practice all week. They play a game at the end of the week. And I've been here in Mobile watching the practices and talking to the players to find out how the practices have been going, watching some of the potential studs for this upcoming draft, and finding out who the Houston Texans have talked to as well. The Senior Bowl has been a growing importance in the draft process for the Texans over the past couple of years. Nick Caserio's first draft, he had one Senior Bowl participant in Nico Collins. That grew to two the next year when Jalen Petrie and Damian Pierce were draft picks after participating in the Senior Bowl. But last year's draft, 9 selections for the Texans. 5 of them were Senior Bowlers, including Tank Dell, Jarrett Patterson, Henry To'o, Xavier Hutchinson. The Texans have had their eyes on the Senior Bowl in the past, and the Texans have had their eyes on this Senior Bowl as well. Nick Caserio and a lot of his front office colleagues have been here this week, taking in the Senior Bowl on the field, walking around, watching the drills. They've talked to a bunch of different prospects while they're here as well. I'll go through the first couple of days. I got 4 standouts for you that the Texans should think about drafting and what exactly Caserio has been taking in. So let me give you the breakdown on where Nick Caserio spent some of his time the first couple of days. The first day, after the players got warmed up in the very first set of practices, Nick Caserio watched the kicker from Stanford, Cardi. I watched him a ton, actually. And it's worth noting that the special teams unit for the Texans, Cam Johnston, John Weeks, and Kaimi Fairbairn, they're all free agents. So when Nick Caserio was spending some extra time paying attention to the special teamers, I took note of that. He watched Cardi kick a little bit from Stanford, and he did pretty good and hit a couple of really nice kicks. He had a 50-yarder or so. And then Caserio moseyed on over to the linebackers, and he watched them do some coverage drills. Ultimately, when it broke out to one-on-ones and teams, one of the other front office members went and watched the offensive and defensive linemen. Nick Caserio was watching the one-on-ones between wide receivers and cornerbacks. And then as they broke into teams in the first day, Nick Caserio was watching from the end of the field, paying attention, and then he'd just look over his shoulder every now and then. He'd look over his shoulder, and he watched the punter from Iowa. Yeah, he watched the punter from Iowa. We know Iowa loves to punt. And he watched the punter from Iowa, and then he'd just go, kind of take a little look, and then go back to watching teams. So special teams was a little bit of a focus, obviously. And then Caserio was, he was all over the place for the next practice and the rest of yesterday as well. He was watching one-on-one drills between offensive linemen, defensive linemen. He's bumping around. You don't see as many general managers on the field paying attention that close. There's a lot of guys that sit in the stands. I watched a lot of the Lions and Panthers contingency sit in the stands for a portion of it. There's a big box across the field that a lot of coaches and scouts sit in. But Nick Caserio down there on the field, taking it in person. Now, let me get to those 4 players that have stood out here at the Senior Bowl through the first couple of days. And really, you think about what the Texans could use, these 4 guys might be it. Let's start with the performer of the Senior Bowl so far. Number 1, actually, he wears number 1 on the field. Number 1, Roman Wilson, a wide receiver from Michigan. Now, Wilson played obviously at Michigan. They don't throw the ball as much as some of the other teams in college football, but he had a solid season, and he's gotten here at the Senior Bowl, and he has just been smooth as butter. Let me tell you, he has made it look easy. He's gotten open against everybody. He's run every kind of route. He's not tremendously fast. I'll be interested to see how he tests at the combine. As we all know, people freak out about those wide receiver testing numbers. He's not tremendously fast, but he's not had any issues getting open against anybody, beating people in coverage. He actually ran a route earlier this week that he was so quick and so speedy And he got up the middle of the field, and then Sam Hartman, the former Wake Forest and Notre Dame quarterback, couldn't get him the ball fast enough. And it was just kind of a duck, and Wilson turned around and caught the ball. He's not a huge guy, but he's real crisp with his route running. He's beat, like I said, anybody and everybody that's gone against him this week. Wide receiver from Michigan, Roman Wilson, is the first name to just kind of keep back there in your draft database, whichever it is. Just kind of keep that rattling around in the back of your mind as you think about it. And if you want to throw on some Michigan games from this past year, I know they run the ball a lot, but check out when they throw it to Roman Wilson. Number 2 is a guy that lined up directly across from Roman Wilson a couple of times. That's Quinyon Mitchell. He's a cornerback from Toledo. And you're like, cornerback from Toledo? This guy is thought to be a surefire first-round pick. Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo. Daniel Jeremiah has him in his top 25 for talents, and I feel like Mitchell has been the best defender at the Senior Bowl. If Roman Wilson's been number 1 overall, the best defender is Quinyon Mitchell. He is physical at the cornerback spot. He's fast. He reads things. He doesn't really get tripped up that much. The footwork's really good. In fact, the only time I've seen him get tripped up is he slipped a little bit defending Roman Wilson in a one-on-one. Wilson ended up with like a really great sideline one-handed catch. But Mitchell has been really good. After the first day when Wilson had a big day, Mitchell called him out a couple of times in the drills, made sure that he was lined up across from Roman Wilson. And I loved his conversation after practice about, hey, in the age of NIL, why did you stick at Toledo? You could have gone to one of these other big universities and played there. And he said the relationships mattered. The people that got me to that point, that I was good heading into my final year of college, I wanted to rely on them. It mattered to me to stick around there with my teammates and the people that I built a great relationship with in the program. I like that answer, and I love that he was calling out the top guy at the Senior Bowl after day 1 to try to go out there and get him. Quinyon Mitchell. Keep that name in your draft database, because if he's there when the Houston Texans are picking in the first round, if they haven't made any sort of significant addition from free agency at the cornerback spot, boy, putting Quinyon Mitchell across from Derek Stingley sure would be a fun setup. Your third player, T'Vondre Sweat. If you're a Big 12 or Texas fan, you'll know the big fella. If you've watched college football highlights, you'll see it. The big fella's gotten it done all year long. Defensive tackle out of Texas, Outland Trophy Award winner, all the accolades that you could think of for a defensive lineman. T'Vondre Sweat is a earth mover. He's a load for these offensive linemen to try to block. He almost folded a center in half on one of the drills on Wednesday. He started to block the guy, and the guy got pushed back a few yards, and he was finally able to plant his feet, and then Sweat kept pushing him over, and the guy just kept bending backwards before he kind of flipped his legs out. There was another drill where Sweat they're working with the defensive lineman about breaking through double teams. And there's 2 offensive linemen going to block Sweat. And then he posts each one with one arm and just starts pushing them back. And I was like, oh, that's a unique individual. That is a different guy. They don't make a lot of people like T'Vondre Sweat from Texas. And the pass rush has been there on a couple of reps. He's been able to fly through and fly off of some offensive linemen trying to block him. And then when you watch some of the team drills, stuff just dies when it heads to T'Vondre Sweat. You've had rushing attacks go towards him that he just stops the offensive line from moving. He stops progress overall. Nothing goes on when they're trying to attack T'Vondre Sweat's side of the line of scrimmage. He has been fantastic. I know there were some concerns about his weight. He didn't weigh in here at the Senior Bowl. I'm here to tell you, I'm not worried about it. I stood next to him. I looked at him, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this guy, the uniforms don't do him any justice. The uniforms feel like they're just a tiny bit tight. You look at some of the pictures from Texas, they must have went a size down on him, because I was standing next to him. He was wearing a sweatshirt, like a hooded zip-up, and it's tight across the shoulders, and it's loose in the stomach. He's not fat. He's a big guy that carries his weight really well. The combine weigh-in will be important for him. Sure, people are going to be concerned about the number, but as he said, and when I talked to him about it in one of the interviews, he said, I played at 360, 365 all year long. I carry my weight well. I'm not worried about it. And as far as the conversation about the pass rush or maybe only being a two-down lineman, Sweat simply said, hey, turn on the tape. Well, turn on the tape and watch T'Vondre Sweat dominate some people. And if you've seen some of the highlights here on social media, you know that T'Vondre Sweat has been crushing people at the Senior Bowl. The last one here for you, a one-day standout. Didn't jump off the page the first day, but on Wednesday was incredible. Darius Robinson from Missouri. Now, Robinson is a big, athletic, nasty dude. He was flying past offensive tackle after offensive tackle in the Wednesday workout. He was swim moving guys. He hit a spin move at one point. He was all over these guys in the one-on-one drills and in team drills. I just kept writing down 6 in my notebook. 6 fast, 6 athletic. He was really good. And talking with him after practice, he's pretty confident. He said he was the best defensive lineman in the world. And then he corrected himself and said, actually, I'm the best defensive lineman out of college. I want to prove that, and I want to work hard. And I asked him if he talked to the Texans. The Texans indeed have talked to him. And in that conversation, he said it was a great conversation. He can't wait to talk to the Texans again. I'm not sure where he is in draft rankings just yet, but I'll tell you this. If the Texans get a shot at this guy, I don't know if he's actually a first rounder or if he's maybe a second rounder. I think the process is still kind of playing out on him. The Texans get a shot at this guy. They should seriously think about it. Putting this guy who sort of comes off as a freaky athlete with some skills to learn and some awesome experience to gain in the defense, the type of defense that the Texans play, easy for me to say, it could be a real fun tandem with Will Anderson or as a part of that rotation should the Texans bring back Jonathan Grenard in free agency. Robinson was really good on Wednesday. Be interested to see how the draft process treats him and where he kind of shakes out. I don't know where he's supposed to go right now. I don't know if he's a first-round, second-round talent, mid-round, whatever, but how the process shakes out as some of the experts try to figure out where he's going to land, pay attention to Darius Robinson from Missouri, the big defensive end. He's been one of the 4 big standouts from the Senior Bowl. So among those 4 big standouts, Roman Wilson, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Robinson confirmed to me they have spoken with the Houston Texans while they're here at the Senior Bowl. T'Vondre Sweat, he was like, I don't know exactly who I talked to. He goes, I basically have talked to everybody. So no confirmation that it's the Texans. I got a hunch that they talked to the big fella and wanted to find out a little bit more about him. Those are my 4 Senior Bowl standouts. You'll get so much more about the Senior Bowl, the workouts, detailed breakdowns, and almost 1,500 words on the practice on Wednesday on Houston football. It's my website where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans, www.houfootball.com. The link is in the description down below. Get signed up for just $7 a month. If you buy a whole year, I'll give you 2 months free, so 12 months for the price of 10 if you sign up for a year. The Senior Bowl coverage has been fantastic. It's my first Senior Bowl. It's been a ton of fun breaking down, talking to these players, talking to other media members, and there's still so much more to break down from the Senior Bowl. Plus, on Houston football, I'll have a full list of confirmed visits that the Texans had with a variety of prospects and a little note or nugget about each of those prospects as we confirm that the Texans, as I confirm that the Texans talk to these guys. Houston football, www.houfootball.com. In the link in the description down below. Check it out. And great supporters like you watching this video, thumbs upping this video, subscribing to the channel, interacting with the video. You make it possible to cover these fun things talking about the Houston Texans. And when you support our great supporters like BetUS in the link in the description down below. Get to gambling on your favorite sports, baseball, basketball, and of course, pro football's finish is right around the corner. You don't want to miss out on all the different ways that you can gamble on that. You can get to betting in the link in the description down below. Deposit $50 or more and get going. Understand that if you take the bonus, there's some extras that you have to do when you do win with those bonuses. That's explained a little bit in the description down below. And of course, I want you to always gamble responsibly if you do decide to gamble. But support BetUS. They're a great supporter of the channel, and you're a great supporter of the channel for watching this video and watching to this point. A little unconventional, not my normal setup, obviously, because I'm on the road here in Mobile, Alabama, but I'm on the road to bring you the best coverage of the Houston Texans offseason. That'll continue right here on the channel, so don't go anywhere. Plenty of videos to watch. Appreciate you tuning in. I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.